Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. Well, I've had 11 people send a request. So you wanted a part 2? We're going to give you a part 2. This is part 2 of They Really Are the Best of Friends, where I'm going to continue showing off covers from the World's Finest series. Having checked from my first video where I left off, I will pick up from that point with some of my books. And believe it or not, I have enough to even do a part 3 if that's requested. I'm going to go basically to World's Finest 301 today, which is, considering that the series ends with issue 323, that is feels like, well, why not just go to the end? Well, I have the majority of books after 301. So that is enough that if people want a third part of this, then I can do that and we can continue. So I'm going to start off here with World's Finest 235. Some big hand has popped off the head of Superman, and Batman is reaching in the back. It's an interesting story. And as I said, it's always status antebellum, or antebellum at the end of every book anyway. Now, for some people out there, this is 238, I believe. Yep, 238, because it's cut a little, so I can't quite see the number. There are some people out there that like transformation covers, where here's a good one where Superman is turned into a kid, and made giant. Because, you know, why stop at one transformation? Let's go for two. He's also got the intelligence of a child in the book. So here's one for all of you out there that like transformation covers. Next up, we have an appearance by the Metal Men. That's gold on the cover, trying to stop Batman from recovering from something, and Superman coming probably a little too late. This is World's Finest 239, by the way. This is a title, by the way, that I'm constantly picking up books to because it's got Superman in it. And it's Bronze Age, Silver Age, Golden Age. So here we go. Superman is about to be executed by Batman. This is 240. I bought this one recently, so I've shown it a couple times on various haul videos and live streams, but I'll show it again. 243, where Batman is clumsy and has a statue on him, and Superman has to save his bum. At this point, World's Finest goes to the dollar books. If you remember during the late 70s, some of the books like Superman Family and Detective briefly, they went to 80-page and 100-page Adventure. They all went up a bit. They did the same thing with World's Finest, turning it into a dollar book. And by doing that, they add like a lot more stories to the book. Like, for example, here you've got Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, the Vigilante, and Black Canary is part of the stories now too in the book. So it becomes a true anthology book for a while. Here on the cover of 244, we've got Superman and Batman looking into some sort of crystal ball. Continuing, continuing with the dollar book theme, here's issue 256. A demon is coming out from an interdimensional portal, as it seems to do like at every science place. This is Star Labs. Here we have 259. And apparently Gotham has gone crazy because its inhabitants are invading Metropolis. And in this one, some of the backup features have changed, and we've got Hawkman, Black Lightning, and Shazam with Green Arrow and the others. So we've got 261, and apparently they're dueling again, because that hasn't happened before at all. Next up, we have issue 267. And apparently they team up with the Challengers of the Unknown. And for some reason, Gravity is being really mean. I mean, Superman's cape is even pulling ahead of him. Maybe that says something. Here is World's Finest 272, where they're being attacked at the Fortress of Solitude. This story in particular brings some of the ridiculous. And the ridiculous is why I love comics. Although I am personally a realist and like to see how, you can't do that. Physical laws don't allow it. So sometimes I have problems with suspension of disbelief of belief. I still love when the comics have ridiculous plots or ridiculous stories, because comics, if anything, is an escape. It's something you can't take too seriously, at least from the older books. The modern books are a little dark. If you take those too seriously, it can be scary. But back then, they were not meant to be taken that seriously. It's supposed to be a 10-minute distraction. Here's World's Finest 273. And apparently Superman and everybody else are mindless zombies and they're out to get Batman. And then in the cover you've got, guess who's joined this book? Eel O'Brien himself. Now these dollar books, they're no longer 100 pages. They're 68 pages by the time we get to this. And this here is issue 278 of World's Finest. To make up for the fact that the pages went down, a lot of the stories of World's Finest at this time tend to have some of the extra backup features. Instead of having their own feature, they join Superman and Batman in their story. And I'm using this as an example. I don't have a lot of them right now. I have read a few, but I've only got a couple. And here is Hawkman. The last issue being one as well, with Green Arrow join the story. And at the top, you see that Zatanna, Green Arrow, and Shazam. Green Arrow has actually, after Superman and Batman, Green Arrow has made the most appearances in World's Finest. He was a backup for the longest time in the 50s, and he was drawn by Jack Kirby back then. He had a small period in the 60s where he was gone because they were doing book-length stories for a while, and I showed some of those. Like, for example, World's Finest 167 and 168, where they were book-length stories, and they moved on. Now, starting with the next issue, World's Finest goes back to regular size. But the next two issues are some of my favorite because they include one of my favorite villains of all time. This is World's Finest 283. See why I said so? Look who's back. Impossible, eh? But true. And then the second part, because this was a two-part story. World's Finest 284, guest starring the Legion of Superheroes. Which makes sense because the composite Superman has all of the Legion's powers, right? Well, the next few books, we have, starting this issue, which is 285, we have an all-new World's Finest. It doesn't explain why it's all brand new, but it has a pretty cool cover. I believe this is Gil Kane. Nope, I'm wrong. It's Miller and Giordano. Sorry, I thought it was Gil. Sort of looks a little like Gil on the Superman. But I was wrong. Miller and Giordano. I love Dick Giordano. I liked his work with Charlton. I like his work with DC. This was a sad day when he passed on. World's Finest 288. Some sort of creature is looking at them. Now, the next book I'm going to show is one of my favorite World's Finest books that doesn't involve the composite Superman. This is a story everybody needs to read because it's actually very well written. This is World's Finest Comics 292, and the story is called The Anthrax Hotline. And yes, that's a woman announcer, and she's very central to the story. And it's a damn good one. If there's any of these books that you're going to read, pick up that one. I can't stress it enough. By the way, all of these in this era, when I picked them up, they're all Canadian price variants, so I was very excited to have them. This is World's Finest Comics 293. And here is another fun cover. I'm actually a little fuzzy on what the story was. I did have to read 2 or 3 pages, then I'd remember it all. But this is World's Finest 294, and it has an absolutely cool cover. That is the Sun God that is attacking Superman and Batman. And this one, if you like legendariums and myths, this has a pretty good writing too. I just don't remember all the details. I just do remember that I really enjoyed it. Actually, this era of World's Finest Comics, which leads to the end, overall is like the best era. Like once you get to past the dollar book era, right to the end, they are probably some of the best written comics from the 80s. It was very sad that they canceled this title, and this title was canceled. It was another title that took the fall for Crisis because they wanted to go in a different direction with Batman and Superman. So, World's Finest 295. Apparently, they're fighting the Moon Dancers. Here we have World's Finest 297. This is called Continuing the Pantheon Saga. All I know is they were fighting a group of gods. It's up to you to find out who and why. Next up, we have World's Finest 299. Which, of course, has yet another Superman and Batman facing execution. Because I don't think they've done that story enough. Which leads us to an anniversary issue of World's Finest Comics 300, where they're joined by the Outsiders and the Justice League of America. This takes place during the time period where Batman has quit the Justice League and he's running the Outsiders. So that's why both groups are in this book. But this is a pretty cool cover. If you like covers with a lot of heroes on it, this is a cover you need to get. And this book is not that expensive. I paid $4 for mine. And here is the last issue that we're going to show in this section, part 2. This is World's Finest Comics 301. Batman is normal. Superman has been transformed into a giant again. So it's another one, if you're a fan of transformation covers, that you should probably look at getting. This period of World's Finest is really good. This is where, like, you got your Bronze Age, your mid Bronze Age, to late Bronze Age, going into the crisis, and this book has really matured over the years. The stories got great, and it wasn't just like some of the early World's Finest stories just had Batman is hanging out with Superman one day, and then this happens. These ones are actually bring them to whichever one is starting the story. Okay, I need a little more power on this. I can't handle this alone. I'm going to call my friend. And that and the thing is, they in this period too, their relationship is pretty solid, and they actually refer to each other as their best friends in a lot of these stories. That because if there's only one guy, we all know how Batman keeps to himself. Well, if there's one guy he opens up to in this period, it's Superman. More so than even Robin. And of course, in this period, Batman and Robin aren't together as much, so you don't see Robin in the stories like you did in a lot of the earlier ones. So that this becomes a true Batman Superman team up. Although there are stories where they have other heroes in them, it is still primarily a Batman Superman book. If you liked this one and would like to see a part 3, let me know in the comments like they did on part 1, and that's why I'm reacting and doing this part 2. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoy this series a lot, and I could probably fill videos of just taking individual issues of this particular series and saying, let's talk about this and let's analyze it. But I won't, because that could get dull pretty fast. But I like it a lot, and that's why I did the first video in the first place. So if you like this one, comment below if you'd like to see a part 3. I would be happy to do it. Part 3 might even end up going into the Batman Superman's current series, um, and the Superman Batman series that was in between. After all, it's kind of the same thing. If you've liked this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. I really appreciate that. It tells me I know I'm doing things that you want to see. And nothing makes me happier than knowing everybody is enjoying themselves. Anyway, my name. Have a good one. I hope you learned something from this too, and that you pick up one or two of these for yourself, especially the 293, 294. Sorry, 283, 283, 284, 293, and 300, because those are a lot of the best from that era of the Bronze Age that aren't called New Teen Titans or Legion. So, my name is Matt, and I like comics. And I hope you do too. Have a great day.